It's a strange truth, really. A lot of adults aren't actually hurting because of the present. They're hurting because there's a version of themselves from the past that was never held. Have you ever noticed that? Some people grow up but stay completely obsessed with a childhood toy. Others will spend hundreds of dollars just to buy back a comic book series they couldn't afford when they were young. And there are those who've crossed into their 30s, but still can't forget someone who rejected them a long time ago. The strangest part is, the things we actually get, our brains tend to forget pretty quickly. But the things we never had, those are the ones that follow us for a lifetime. The other day, I saw a video. It was a man in his early 30s, buying himself a Kinder Joy chocolate egg for the very first time. As he unboxed it, he started crying. Not because it tasted amazing, but because when he was 8, he used to stand for hours in front of the grocery store, watching his friends eat them. But his family was just too poor. What haunted me most wasn't his tears. It was what he said. I finally bought it, but why am I not happy anymore? Here's what I realized. People aren't obsessed with what they lack. They're obsessed with the feeling of, I was supposed to have it. And our brains absolutely hate unfinished business. In psychology, there's a concept called the Zeigarnik effect. It shows that the brain holds on to incomplete tasks, missed desires, and interrupted emotions much longer than things that are finished. That's exactly why you forget almost everyone who ever liked you. But you remember the one who didn't choose you for years. You can forget hundreds of ordinary days, but you'll always remember the exact day you were rejected, because to the brain, an unfinished story creates psychological tension, and we tend to spend our entire lives trying to close those unfinished emotional loops. The fascinating thing is, the brain doesn't release the most dopamine when we actually possess something. It releases the highest amount of dopamine during the anticipation phase, meaning what we get addicted to is rarely having it. It's being on the verge of having it. This is why people get more hooked on a crush than a real relationship. They get addicted to the thrill of the chase rather than the comfort of stability. They crave the cold, emotionally unavailable person over the one who's always there, because the brain gets trapped in a loop. Maybe this time, I'll finally be chosen. In behavioral psychology, this is called intermittent reinforcement, unpredictable rewards. It's the exact mechanism that hooks gamblers to slot machines, keeps people checking their notifications, and traps so many of us in toxic relationships. When someone hot and cold, loving 1 minute, distant the next, your brain gets a much heavier hit of stimulation than it ever would from a stable, peaceful love. It's a harsh truth. Sometimes what we call loving someone deeply is really just dopamine mixed with anxiety. I used to think that once we grow up, the past just fades away on its own. But it doesn't. Our inner child never disappears. It just goes quiet. And then one day, it resurfaces. It shows up as an obsessive relationship, a bout of impulse shopping, an unexplained wave of insecurity, or a heavy sinking feeling just because someone left you on read. If someone's childhood was spent constantly trying to earn love, they grow up highly likely to fall for people they have to chase. If your emotions were brushed off when you were little, you'll grow up hypersensitive to abandonment. And at that point, love stops being love. It becomes a test of your self-worth. You don't even truly want that person anymore. You just want the validation of being chosen. That's why some people know perfectly well a relationship is killing them, yet they can't let go. They aren't trying to save the person in front of them. They're trying to rescue the child they used to be. There's a powerful insight I came across. Not every void needs to be filled. Some empty spaces just need to be understood. You don't need to buy back your entire childhood to prove you're worthy now. You don't need the person who rejected you to come back and love you, just to have value. And you don't need to win against everything that ever hurt you. Because in some lives, the lesson isn't about getting, it's about learning to accept that you once lacked so much. And yet you still grew up to be a decent, kind human being. That is true healing. Not going back to the past to fix it, but finally stopping blaming yourself for not having enough back then. After everything, I've realized that what hurts us most isn't actually losing something. It's the lingering thought. If only I had gotten it back then, I would have been happier. But the truth is, no one lives long enough to have a perfect childhood. No one makes it through to adulthood without a few cracks in their soul. The goal isn't to go back and patch up every single hole. It's learning how to live in peace, even with those empty spaces inside. If you're still holding on to a fixation today, a person, a dream, or an old version of yourself, I just want to tell you, you don't need to finish every broken story to deserve happiness. Sometimes, being able to close the book is what growing up really means. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode of 30 Plus.